Here's a quick one for you. A clean air quiz to start us off. Which of these do you think releases the most toxic fumes into the air in Ghana? Old diesel engines, open waste burning, or gold extraction? Most people say vehicles or burning rubbish. But in some parts of Ghana, the answer is actually gold extraction, not the mining itself, but the process used to capture the gold. Across artisanal and small-scale mining sites, mercury is used to separate gold from ore. When that mercury is heated, it turns into vapor, invisible, odorless, and dangerous. Welcome to Clean Air Report Ghana on Joy 99.7 FM. Your weekly look at how the air we breathe affects our health, our work, and our future. This episode, we unpack findings from the Mercury and Heavy Metals Impact Assessment, a joint effort by the UK's Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office, Pure Earth, and Ghana's EPA. It found that in mining towns like Konongo, Prestea, and Wasake-Yanko, the air itself is being quietly poisoned, not by dust, but by mercury vapor from artisanal and small-scale gold mining. Now, let's be clear. The gold industry itself isn't the problem. The real danger comes from unregulated and illegal mining, where mercury is used carelessly without any environmental safeguards. Here's what the data says. At Wasake-Yanko in the western region, mercury levels in the air averaged 1.84 micrograms per meter cube. That's about 84% above Ghana's allowable limit. And during active burning, levels spiked up to 150 micrograms per meter cube, more than 150 times the safety threshold. The reason is simple but deadly. Mercury evaporates easily. Each 10-degree rise in temperature doubles the amount that escapes into the air. So when miners heat mercury to free gold, the process releases an invisible cloud that can damage the brain, kidneys, and lungs, not just for miners but for everyone nearby. To understand how serious this is, we spoke with three experts. Reverend Dr. Esmond Wisdom Kwanzaa, the Regional Program Director at Pure Earth. Dr. Denzel Tay, he is a medical doctor at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, and also Dr. John Aku Mensah, a senior lecturer at the School of Public Health at the University of Ghana. They have polluted rivers, destroyed forests, and left the earth scarred. But a new report by Pure Earth reveals that the damage runs deeper. Illegal mining has contaminated food and water across several communities with dangerous levels of heavy metals. For years, many believed the threat was local, something they could escape by avoiding food and water from mining zones. But now, the Pure Earth report warns the danger is in the air. According to the Pure Earth report on mercury and other heavy metals impact assessment, air samples taken from some regions recorded mercury concentrations far higher than what is considered safe.
So we have a device called a Jerome. Jerome measures the mercury vapor in the air. And so we hold that, we turn it on, and it's able to tell us, the amount of mercury vapor in the air at that particular time. And then we do that around, we don't just measure. So if you go to the site, we'll measure about 90 times to be able to establish a mean. Of course, the average values, the maximum values, as part of the work we've done.
Reverend Dr. Esmond Kwanzaa has spent years studying mercury contamination.
Across all these 6 regions, we found mercury in the soil in very, very high levels. And I think Konongo, Zongo, and Konongo, Odumansi, rank top with highest values. That is shocking. And then we look at mercury also in the air, in almost all the sites. In fact, the standard mercury in the air ambient is 1 microgram per cubic meter. That's the standard. But we've seen an average of about 1.84 microgram per cubic meter, and in some cases, Wasa Kanyanko, we've seen the mercury vapor in the air as much as 150.
Wow, that's a
microgram
lot
per cubic meter. I mean, for just one being a standard to 150. And so if you look at the average, which is about 84%, 1.84 microgram per cubic meter in all the sites, that is really worrying.
What worries him most isn't just what happens at mining sites, it's where the danger travels.
We've seen a lot of these sites where, and that's for me my worrying concern, because the gold is extracted from the bush, then they bring this amalgam to the community to burn, where there are a lot of homes. I mean, if you go to Obuasi, for example, you can see some of these activities also happening, not far from Nyame Bechere, where we did some of the work as well. So this is really concerning.
When mercury is heated, it turns into vapor, a gas that is both colorless and odorless. But the moment it's inhaled, it becomes a toxin the body cannot handle. To understand the impact, I spoke with Dr. Denzel Tay, a medical doctor at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital.
Now, when you inhale mercury, you inhale something we call elemental mercury. And one of the first things it does is that it goes to your lungs, where it can cause all manner of complications. Unlike other minerals like zinc and iron, your body can't use those minerals. But when it comes to mercury, it's purely toxic. Your body has no use for it, and so it begins a process that can lead to death. The danger is particularly with long-term exposure to mercury, because in that case, a lot of the time, you are not even aware you are being exposed to mercury. By the time the symptoms begin to develop, there's very little we can do to prevent death or the terrible consequences of mercury toxicity or mercury poisoning.
He explains that while mercury in food or water is dangerous, inhaling the vapor is far worse, a point echoed by senior lecturer and health toxicologist Dr. John Ako Mensah of the University of Ghana School of Public Health.
In the study of poisons, that is called toxicology, the route of exposure is very important. So some things, because elemental mercury, when you eat it, actually it doesn't do much to the body. But when you inhale it, it's a different thing altogether. When you inhale vapor, mercury vapor, then the effect can be immediate. And the danger is that when it gets into blood, it's able to cross membranes and actually even cross 2 barriers that are regulated in the body, the blood-brain barrier and the placental barrier.
And it's not just the miners who are exposed. Even those miles away breathe the same toxic air.
You don't smoke cigarettes, but you live with someone who smokes cigarettes. You inhale the same fumes and whatever. So it's the same thing. So the communities can be equally affected as those who are doing it. And since it's all over the country, the health risk down the line is going to be immense.
For victims of mercury exposure, treatment is limited and often too late.
We can even give you something we call chelators, which binds the mercury and take it out of your body if you present early enough. And so in the case of mercury, the chelator we use is either Saxima or dimercaprol. So they'll bind to the mercury and then it comes out. But that's if we intervene early enough. You can't really use chelators in someone who has been exposed to mercury over years, because at that point it has already caused the damage.
For Reverend Dr. Kwanta, The findings are heartbreaking, not only because of what the data reveals, but because of what it means for Ghana's future.
As an environmentalist, I feel like shedding tears sometimes.
Wow.
I mean, how the environment is destroyed. It's unbelievable. And of course, the water bodies can no longer, we can survive on them. And now we're seeing values of mercury in the air, which means you don't need to actually eat or play with the soil to have that.
Or even drink it.
But just breathing it can really cause harm too.
Illegal mining may be filling pockets with gold, but it's also filling lungs with poison. The mercury vapor that miners breathe today will linger in the air long after the last spit is dug. And if the burning continues, no one, not even those far from the mines, will truly be safe. Mercury, the invisible price of gold, is now the poison in the air we all share. The takeaway is clear. Mercury pollution in Ghana is not about the entire gold industry, but rather about how some small-scale and illegal operations are handling the process. When mercury is used recklessly, it doesn't just threaten miners, it endangers families, rivers, and the air we all share. Cleaner, mercury-free methods exist, but they require training, equipment, and enforcement to make them real alternatives for miners who depend on gold for survival. I am Michael Ashali, and this has been Clean Air Report Ghana on Joy 99.7 FM, keeping the conversation on clean air alive, one story at a time. Thank you for listening, and remember, every breath counts.